Hello mathematicians, I hope by the end of this video you can say I can add and subtract positive fractions with unlike denominators. So let's look at this example here. So we have 2/5 plus 1/4. And what does this equal? And we can see that these two denominators are not the same. We have a denominator of 5 and a denominator of 4. So in order to add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators, it's going to come down to either 3 or 4 steps, depending on if we need to simplify at the end or not. This first step is we need to identify the least common denominator. In order to identify the least common denominator, we need to find the least common multiple between the two denominators. So we have the least common multiple between 5 and 4. So we can do that by, we can just list off all the multiples between 5 and 4 if it's not blatantly obvious, that is. Some of you might see what the least common multiple is right away, but if not, here's a quick strategy that might work for you. Let's just start listing them off in like a column between all of our multiples. So multiples of 5, we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. All right, let's stop there. Multiples of 4, we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. Let's stop there. And is there any common multiples between these two? Yep, we got 20, right? That is our least common multiple between 5 and 4. So our least common denominator is going to be 20. Now our next step is going to be to convert the numerators and the denominators to that least common denominator. So we have 2/5 and 1/4, and we want our denominator to be 20 because that is our least common denominator. And we do that by asking ourselves, the denominator here, 5 times what gives me 20? Well, 5 times 4 gives me 20. And if I multiply the denominator by 4, in order to keep things even, I need to also multiply the numerator by 4. So 5 times 4 gives me 20, and 2 times 4 gives me 8. So 2/5 is equal to 8/20. And again, 4 times what gives me 20? 4 times 5 gives me 20. And if I multiply this denominator by 5, I also have to multiply the numerator by 5. 1 times 5 gives me 5. So 1 over 4 is equal to 5 over 20. Now we have common denominators. Now we can add and subtract them, which is going to be our final step. So we have 8/20 plus 5/20. So we know our denominator is going to stay the same. And then we are going to add our two numerators. So 8 plus 5 gives us 13. So our final answer of 2/5 plus 1/4, we end up getting 13 over 20. This is a simplified fraction. There's no common factors between 13 and 20, so we can't simplify. If we needed to, that would have been our fourth step in this process. Adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators can be confusing, but if you just take a systematic approach and follow these 3 or 4 steps, if you do need to simplify, I think you will find success. I hope by now and with a little bit of practice, you can say I can add and subtract positive fractions with unlike denominators.